Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 185 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So you can decide right now, what you want from life. You can decide who you want to be and what you want to do in any given situation. And your life a year from now, 5 years from now, will depend on these decisions. So if you're on the fence and you're wondering, what is going to happen with your career, with your relationships, with your health, with the sense of energy and adventure in your life, there's no reason to wait. You can decide today. So today's podcast on the power of choice is about how you can create a vision of your life and yourself that you never thought was possible. One of the biggest challenges and opportunities is this power of choice, deciding what we're going to do next, making decisions. And as I've been planning the next year out, I've been getting really excited about all the travel with family, the retreats, work travel, even the projects I have lined up. And there is something about anticipation that is so lovely. And I want to tell you, in case you think my voice sounds weird, it kind of does, because I had a bit of a cold and I'm coming off of it and actually lost my voice earlier this week. So I'm really glad it's back so I can record this for you guys. But bear with me if you think it sounds a little bit different than the normal voice you're used to hearing. So as I was saying, this anticipation is the thing. I've been thinking a lot about planning. I'm going to do a podcast on that as well, and how much it solves for so many of the questions that we have in our life, including the energy and the excitement and the inspiration that we are desiring. I remember when I was younger, we didn't travel as much. I think most people didn't travel as much or as far, really, for most of my childhood. So when we did start going away, I remember it was in Cruise to the Caribbean. I read the brochure to the T, like I knew every image. I can even picture that brochure today. I was that excited. There was so much of that positive anticipation, and it actually added so much to the trip. It might have even been better than the trip. And I've been dreaming up magical locations for the next retreat, amazing experiences. And I've had so much fun because in this period of decision making, I could feel how much choice I had that was available to me. Something runs through me. I feel this energetic excitement that lights me up in this process. And I've been sharing with you what my journey has looked like, deciding to change careers, launching business, taking a more what felt like an unconventional route, although it really isn't that unconventional, to start your own business and to do something with the experiences you have. But what has been really powerful is to reflect on how all of these have been choices. And when I work with my clients and they're facing the uncertainty that comes with new decisions, with forks in the road, with pivots, understanding that they have a choice and that this gap that they're desiring, honestly, when you have something you desire, you're telling yourself, I am willing to feel this gap right now between where I am and what I want. Knowing that that's a choice and that it's purposeful takes them out of that victim mentality, out of the I'm making a huge mistake mentality, and brings them into a place of empowerment, a place where they actually decide how they want to view this. And that is a huge unlock. And what makes your journey and story so fun as you're coaching with me is that we walk this together. We write your story together. We walk the journey together, and we navigate all of these moments of choice. And we will use your power of choice the whole time. And it might have been a muscle that you have not used that much before, but I've been actively using it, actively trying to see it. It's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I've been seeing all the places in my life where the power of choice exists and starting to examine what's another one? What's another one? And I really centered myself, for example, on the benefits of sleeping more. I've been working on that a lot. So don't worry, a podcast will be coming on that topic. Seeing how I had a choice in terms of how late I woke up or how late I work at night, when I get up, how much I'm sleeping in between. I have been a night owl, and then I became a morning person. And I became someone who really loved those early morning hours before anyone else was up. When I used to be that person who really loved those late night hours when everyone else was asleep. And it has been really refreshing to see how much life can change in ways that I used to feel were fixed, how much energy I have in the morning, how much excitement I have in the morning, the same that I have in the evening. And I almost feel like I want to stay awake all day, except I know that there's a huge unlock and benefit to the sleep and the quality of the sleep that we get. So aside from sleeping, I went through all these other areas of my life that I thought were fixed as well. My relationship, the quality of life that I get to experience with my partner and my husband, Jay, the friendships that I have, my health, my work, all of this transformed by the power of choice. The ideas that does it have to be this way, and questioning it. And I have mentioned this book before, the book by Anita Moorjani, Dying to Be Me. But one of the things that really resonated with me in that story is that she became so much more joyful in her life after her near-death experience. She became so much more fearless. And I think that really stuck with me, this idea of just like, why am I waiting? Why am I not just leaning into the things that I want now? And nothing changed, but everything changed for her. And I feel like this has happened for me as well. On the outside, I might look like the same person, but on the inside, I'm so different. I'm driven so much by service. I question my decisions less. I feel like it's easier to make decisions. And I also honor when I'm struggling with a decision because I trust my decision-making process and that what I'm working through matters. And the reason I hesitate means that there's something there that needs to be examined. So career changes, creating my business, all of those things have been some of the biggest demonstrations of my own power of choice. I choose what I do and how I do it. That was huge. And I think for many people, as you start to pivot into leadership roles, you pivot into intrapreneurship, right? The ability to create your own path within a company. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. You start to realize there is more choice than we realize. And even changing what I did, changing my corporate work from strategy to training and development, where I focus more on leadership, on sales training and design. And even when we've invested so much time and money down one path, we still have the opportunity to overcome our biases, to continue down the path we've been on, and realize that there are times when the persistence doesn't pay off. This is a decision-making heuristic, actually, when we kind of escalate and we keep going down one path because we've put so much into it. And there are times when persistence does pay off. And that has been one of the most powerful lessons when I think about choice. You can choose when to stop because not everything that I had persisted with was worth staying through. And if you've heard my episodes in the past, I've talked about burnout and how I've healed my burnout process. And that persistence to like continue to go and hold on to that stress is not something you want to hold on to. And when I think about how I've healed the burnout process and healing and eliminating burnout, it is something that has changed my relationship with work in the most helpful of ways. The drive and the ambition that was gone when I feared burnout has been replaced by a curiosity and this excitement for what's next, because I no longer have that as a thing where I'm worried. What if I burn out again? I knew when I was changing my careers, I knew when I was moving to any role that I would not escape this problem. I would just take it with me. And I promise you guys this, if you're thinking, I'm going to quit my job so I'm going to have a better lifestyle, it is not the answer. The lifestyle you want can be had right now if you decided to actually try it out. And there are very, I would say, structural situations where that whole industry and the whole way that people work is just not conducive to that lifestyle. And I will give you that. And I know that that can be the case. But aside from those circumstances, there are many things that actually can be done that are quite simple, but require some courage in order for us to be able to manage that difficulty that comes with holding on to a idea of a vision that might not be the way that other people are doing things. And that is all the choice. So when I think about power of choice, I've also been really excited about leaning into joy and thinking about what I get excited about, because I think that there's a very analytical side of me that is like, here's what we need to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Stick to the plan. And then there's a part of me that fuels, that inspires, that drives. And it is the aliveness that I know that when I feel that in my body, there is something there for me to follow. So I bridge both of that kind of left brain, right brain approach, and I can use both to my advantage. But I have to actually work on choosing joy, leaning into it, and not, as some people like to think of it, postponing it for later. And one of the ways this has come into my life is through retreats. Retreats are something that bring me so much joy. They may not be the most profitable thing in a coaching business. I also run in-person events for corporate work, and there's just so much more cost involved. But it is so hard to eliminate that in-person experience and what that brings. And I love connecting with people in person. I love hosting. I love curating great food, the ability to move our bodies in these new and different ways, and the healing that happens when we come together and create communities. And I've built my business around my joy, my passions, the things that I'm really good at. And that's understanding humans, helping them grow and change in the ways that they desire. And I have to pause often and ask myself what my life would have looked like if I didn't own my power of choice in those moments where I thought I had to keep going and doing the things the same way I've always done them. And I almost can't imagine that path. I know that at some point I would have figured it out, whether it was a year later, the year later, or the next year. And so that's why I tell people that often the things that come up, if they persist and they don't go away, those nudges just stay there. There's a reason that they're there. And you're just trying to figure out how to make this work, how to do it in a way that doesn't blow up your life completely, how to do it in a way that feels safe, that isn't about taking enormous risks and feels like a rash judgment. And I promise you that there is a way. And the thing you have to keep holding on to is the ability to question. I've always had so many questions about people, why they do what they do. And this is what drives my coaching work. It's really funny because I won't do this with everyone. So if you're a friend of mine, you come over for dinner, I'm not going to put you on the spot for sure, but that ability to kind of have those questions, to think about what drives people, how they make decisions, what's their story, makes me so passionate about the work that I do. It makes me the person that cares a lot about people having less anxiety, less suffering, and overall more joy in their lives. And I know that there's a reason that we do what we do. And if there is a reason that we can understand, then it means that something can shift. And maybe we can't change certain things. We can't change our parents or the innate privilege or lack thereof that we have. But we can change what we do from here on out. We can choose what our day looks like, because no matter what happens, you can fight for that choice to be more deeply aware of yourself and others, to be more compassionate, to be more kind, to let something go, or to see positive intent where previously you might have judged. And we all have a choice. You have a choice. I have a choice. And we get to be curious about how we are making decisions, how we're going to figure this next thing out. And we can be that person who did it differently, break the cycle of intergenerational trauma, whether it's the way that we parent or the assumptions that we have. And it's not always easy, but I promise you, it is so worth it. And what happens is you realize that you are much more courageous than you might have realized. And that is the reality that we live in. The power of choice, the ability to have courage. And I want you to own it and I want you to love it, because it actually changes your life when you embrace who you are and when you lean into choosing to love people, to love life, and no matter what the situations around you. There is this quote, "Fear is a reaction and courage is a decision," by Sir Winston Churchill. And it's something that I shared with my clients the other day because it resonates with all of this that we're talking about, realizing that we have choices to make our decisions. And that means courage. But that fear that's always there, the thing that's holding us back, is automatically there. It's a reaction. There are no questions asked. So start asking yourself, what am I choosing to live by today? Am I choosing to live by my fear or by my courage? And why? What would happen if you, like me, started choosing to live more courageously, became a version of yourself that you would never have believed? And I promise you, it will start with the smallest of things. The smallest of things. If you're listening, you know who you are, but I had a client who the other day was showing me her phone case, because one of the things that she started changing was these little tweaks, like having color in her life in these new and different ways, like buying sheets that had prints, for example, instead of all neutrals. And I know you know who you are, because it's not just this one person. There's lots of people who think like that, right? Like, what is a safe choice? Not because they're trying to be safe, but maybe it's very practical. It's just this other way of living life. And now you're adding in a little bit more color, a little more joy, a little bit more excitement, a little more, I don't really care if this is a little off the safe route or the conventional route. And you start having fun. She was showing me this case, and I was like, who are you now? Look at you buying these phone cases that are not just pure black. So I want to encourage you to realize that sometimes things seem like this massive, huge leap. Like, I need to do all this stuff and become, I don't know, like a digital nomad. And if you do, that is fine. You do you. But that might not be the life for everyone. You might just want to have more fun with your family. You might just want to eat in new and different ways. You might just want to try a new place that you're traveling to, or just take a moment for yourself that you don't normally take. And all of that is valid, and it is worth it, and it is your choice. And it is where you can start to see that if you had that knowledge that time is of the essence, that there's no reason to wait, life will make space for all of it. You can choose to live from this future self, this version of you 5-10 years down the road, who already knows how good life is, who's actually making that thing that you're feeling stuck with work, and that it's possible to keep increasing the amount of both uncertainty and success that you can hold without making it a problem. So even if I choose something that didn't work the way I wanted it to, I do not consider that a failure. And that is a huge, huge win. It was a choice and I can just choose again. So imagine the level of fearlessness that you start to live by. And really, it's not lack of fear. It's just seeing the fear and living as if you didn't have the fear, using more courage. Obviously, you're using your thinking as well. You're not just blindly leaping into things that make no sense, but just deciding and moving forward is one of the most powerful things that you can do today. If you're on the cusp, if you want to join, if you have been desiring to make those changes to your own life, there is no better place to do it than in Spiritual Achiever Coaching. We are enrolling in this next round, and this month we're going to dive into decision making, conscious versus subconscious models that we work with, and what to do now with those biggest decisions that you have in your life. If you're ready for your life to become more rich and more deep, you can join now by going to mayemson.com/spiritual achiever. And when you do, you get access for the best pricing for our next retreats. And the next retreat that's coming up is going to be in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. It is a private villa and a top 10 surfing destination. So my friends, we're going to have so much fun doing some surfing, rewiring our mind, body, souls, and expanding into what is next for us in our lives. Retreats are my jam. I love them so much and cannot wait to see you guys there. You don't want to miss it. And even if you're not in the group, you are welcome to join. Spots will sell out though. So go to mayemson.com/retreat and book your spot today before they run out. I love you, my friends. I hope you have the most amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.